Hi, everybody. Steve Tarter, another edition of Tartar Sauce on a beautiful day in downtown Peoria. So happy to have back with us JD Dalfonso, the CEO of the Peoria Area Convention and Visitor Bureau. JD, how are you?
Not bad. Thanks for having me,
Oh,
Steve.
it's our pleasure. Well, we were talking about the pandemic and the impact and TV shows and everything else, but you're involved with probably numerous efforts. Are you looking beyond the pandemic, during the pandemic? Where are you at?
We're doing a little bit of both, and I know that's probably an easy answer, but we are.
You have to, really.
We have
Yeah.
to. We're trying to strategically plan the best we can, but what's a strategic plan consist of right now?
Yeah.
You have to prioritize, kind of execute the problem at hand. It's really going day to day. It's a roller coaster, but what do we look like a week out and a month out? Right. Long term is maybe a 3-month plan of how do you try and navigate so many uncertainties and so many things out of your control. And so particularly for our entity, which is funded in numerous different ways, and we're told to spend money in certain ways, we really have to be careful with how we budget moving forward with resources. And so we're looking ahead to the future because what we see now is there's still going to be human behavior that's going to carry over once we get through it.
Right.
So.
The impact of the pandemic will be felt.
Yeah.
We should explain for folks who maybe aren't as aware as others are that you deal with bringing people into this area, not just Peoria, but the Peoria area, the wide area. You're dealing with the hotels, you're dealing with restaurants, you're dealing with the state. What do you do when folks not just around here, all across the country, they're not staying in hotels like they used to? I think it's picking up a little bit, right?
Ticking up a little bit because we were able to open in some ways. And one of the largest drivers this summer for us has been our youth sports. Again, the youth sports facilities we have in Eastside Center and Louisville Slugger drove the hotel occupancy to tick up a little bit. Still below where we were last year, of course, because other business wasn't allowed. But yeah, when you're in the business of meetings and conventions and you're based on the success of how many people you can get together, right now is not a good time for those event spaces. But the great thing about we always look into a silver lining, and what that is we also operate as a destination marketing organization. That's part of our responsibility. And so how do we become advocates and market the destination in the region favorably? And so there are still ways we can do that and encourage recovery to be localized and rediscover kind of what's in our backyard. So I really applaud our residents in the Central Illinois area for really stepping up to help be part of the recovery as we try and get out and enjoy our lives.
And, the word has been used, for a number of years now, but staycation, if that's the right word, but where you're staying in the area, maybe not in your backyard, but certainly in a close proximity to your home. And has there been a lot of that in Central Illinois this year?
Absolutely.
I'm guessing there
has been, and it's resonated in a couple different ways. One of us, some of us, rediscovering. I keep using that word, new things or things that have been here in our backyard we haven't taken advantage of. Knowing that you can't take your traditional vacation right now in some areas, we see a lot of people exploring new restaurants or restaurants that have been here or
they
just
haven't gone
experiences, trails right now, socially distanced sports like trail opportunities. We have miles and miles of trails across Central Illinois but people are spending money after they do that, right? So how do they get out and experience some life and some fresh air, then what do they do to find some entertainment? We're kind of opening up with some small music opportunities. The arts can be socially distanced. People can enjoy that. But, our restaurants are driving a lot of this recovery because that's where our locals can really spend some tax money and some money. So being able to dine in safely has been a big opportunity for us, as you can spend a little bit more sitting down and enjoying your time there. But really, it's been a localized effort so far.
Thank goodness we turned, and I think lots of people were involved with this, to outside dining. I mean, you see Peoria Heights. I know there's restaurants in Peoria and elsewhere in the area that you can sit outside. And, of course, we're talking about it on a beautiful day. Maybe come November, that gets a little iffy. So, we know we got to take advantage of it while we can.
Yeah, and throughout this entire pandemic, it's going to be, I've said to our staff, if we can be most innovative now, will be set up well in the future. And I think that says a lot to our local small businesses too. A lot that didn't have carry-out options prior or online menus and ordering options. They know that's needed now. And we've seen these business owners really adapt to the times, because this is something I would predict is not going away. Much like these large events that we see in our lifetime, we revert a lot back to the scenario of 9/11 in this time, because it's hitting the economic impact right now is 8 times worse than it was for 9/11, particularly for our industry.
Yeah.
That's not to say this is bigger. They're two different.
Well, it's been stretched out.
It has.
I mean, 9/11 after, I don't know what the time frame was, but a year out of 9/11, we were moving on. Not totally. I mean, people in New York still had a different impact, but this is different. I mean, now we're talking about backsliding, I mean, in some areas. And that's really kind of discouraging, because it's like, hey, come on, we pushed this boulder up the hill. Don't let it roll back down on us.
Exactly. And to that, the human behavior for traveling is entirely different after 9/11. Things have changed and different, but airport security is still here and advanced more than ever.
Right.
So the public health and safety, how does that look down the road? I don't have the answers. I imagine that flu season, you're going to continue to see masks.
Yeah.
Whether you need them or not, people feel safer wearing them around those times. So these are things we're going to adapt to, particularly in our industry. How do we safely bring people back together?
Right.
Our industry was the first one out. It's going to be, unfortunately, the last one back in. So
that's such a trial, but you mentioned innovation, and I was just thinking, I think I read this online somewhere, but I know farmers have been hit hard. We just heard about all the corn that's down in Iowa, and I think it caught a little bit of Illinois as well. But natural events are always, farmers are always subject to that. But, they've had issues with tariffs and all the cost things. And this story, though, focused on a guy, and I can't remember where exactly he was, but he was shooting video of his animals, farm animals, and putting them online and getting hits and making money that way. So he was actually, still running his farm, but found a new way to, support himself. I don't know how much he was making, but he was disappointed when his cows or whatever, the pigs weren't doing the tricks he wanted them to.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of innovation that, most of us, if we're not on the farm, wouldn't think of.
Of course.
But we almost have to.
And
nowadays.
that demographic, I'd only imagine, not to assume, but, as an apt to some of those ideas, and to see those stories come out and have an extra revenue stream for something that's a bit unorthodox.
Yep.
Compared to the traditional farming aspect, those are the things, and we see those stories around Central Illinois popping up, and so we're excited to see this innovation pop up with people thinking outside the box. So,
what would you recommend to people that are watching this or hearing it later? They're residents of this area. They know the pain the restaurants have gone through, the hotels have gone through. What's a good advice for them? I mean, if they want to stay safe, what would you tell them, JD?
Just towards the recovery.
Yeah.
While
we're in the middle of it, and we think
right.
we're in the middle of it, I guess we are.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know where it is.
Right in the middle, but we can quickly see right now the ROI of what economic opportunity comes from hotel stays, restaurant spend, and amusement, like at Civic Center. Mm-hmm. That building is critical to the success of the region. And so we get to see what it is without it. And so when it comes time, I keep telling my staff, if we need to get some messaging out there, we're trying to, because our restaurants are a lot of the ones sponsoring your Little League teams or donating at our charity events. We're incredibly philanthropic and charitable in this region, and these organizations and small businesses step up to the call. It's almost now we have to step up to the call to make sure that our businesses are there, in the end. And we are doing that. I'm not saying we need to do more. We could always do more, but I don't want to paint the picture that we're not doing that. That's where I said earlier, I'm really proud of the residents here in Central Illinois stepping up to the call to support.
So there's really more of a need. I mean, we've heard this cry for years, and it was pre-pandemic, buy local, there's shop local, because of the thing you just said with sales revenue. And we know it's so much easier to shop online. I mean, you're not going to make that, the genie's not going to go back in the box. I mean, people are going to keep using Amazon and all the other things. But it's also wise to think about, okay, that business, as you said, that supports a Little League team needs some help too.
Absolutely.
And don't forget them. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we do have a lot of pride for our local businesses, and we're seeing that. That they're the ones driving it. You see the statistics. I think 80% of businesses are small businesses, or I forget the statistic, but there's a lot more, and I think it's coming to highlight more nowadays how many small businesses are relying on our residents.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine the challenge, and of course it varies with each business. But one of the things that you deal with, and now you've kind of turned towards it. I think you always had it on your radar, but you were doing other things. But making this area more attractive, it's already attractive, but making it that awareness of what our assets are, the river, parks. We can go down the list. Its size now. We were talking a little bit earlier about the exodus from the large cities, which is going on nationally, fairly or unfairly. I mean, folks are, wanting to move. I mean, maybe it's because of expense. You talk about housing costs in a place like San Francisco or Boston or New York, whatever. What are we doing on that front?
Yeah, we're making
Bring people in here.
We're making some great headway here locally with a number of our regional entities. I say that as the Convention Visitors Bureau, the EDC, Economic Development Council, and our Greater Peoria Business Alliance, your Chamber of Commerce, CEO Council. We have leaders there that are coming to the table and talking about how we can take advantage of this.
Right.
What we're seeing firsthand, I at least have seen this, is people from Chicago, young couples, are coming down to visit relatives and friends and relatives to get away for a week or a week and a half to Central Illinois because they can a little bit live their lives a little bit more openly in a safe way. And now it's also painting a picture of, I can do my job from anywhere.
Right.
I don't have to be in a big city, and maybe I don't feel comfortable being surrounded by 5 million of my closest friends during a pandemic.
And you can always go back and visit.
Yes.
It's not like Chicago's moving away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But we're seeing that. And I think we're seeing this opportunity where the workplace behavior most likely will be shifted to more work from home options as we've been forced to do that. Two, they realize the cost of living down here or in Central Illinois is one of our strengths.
Yep.
And just the amount of amenities we have in Central Illinois as well is surprising. I think we forget about a lot of the things we have. And so I encourage everybody to keep talking positively about the region because people see it favorably. I say one of the easiest things to do in life is to complain about your hometown.
Sure.
Easy to complain, but we have to recognize we have a lot of great things and people see us in a positive light.
I think that's true because, sometimes, the person that's always lived in the Peoria area, feels like, well, it's got to be better in California. It's got to be better in New York. It's got to be, and maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. It doesn't, you never know. Everybody's different. But then you get the person that's lived elsewhere and comes to Peoria and says, hey, this is great. I mean, I like this. And I think that's what you have to think about, too. The folks that have something to compare it to, usually Peoria's pretty high up on the list because they know what they've faced elsewhere. Yeah. And it's a lot of it comes down to people. You just said the cooperation, the volunteerism, the fact that they're giving to the Little League team and all that stuff. We take that for granted because that's what you do. Well, that's not the case everywhere. Yeah. And I think that's a point that you make. So we got cooperation between all these different entities. That almost sounds like another benefit of the pandemic.
It is, yeah. We were heading that direction.
We need to look for those, but
we were heading that direction. But just as we've seen COVID bring us closer together, it has for these organizations too, looking to make sure that this region is set up for success afterwards. So with Joshua Gunn, new at the helm at the chamber, Chris Setti, his work at the EDC, our work with our municipalities, but we're all three of us are regional entities, right? Looking for the greater good, and we're having some great discussions on how we use our strengths to our advantage collectively. So the EDC is looking to economic development and data collecting, and Joshua's over there running the Business Alliance, and with the focus of our businesses, particularly small businesses need. CVB's over here looking to market and promote the region in a positive way. So there's data and a story to be told. We can tell the story in the positive light. So we're making stories, we're telling stories, and advertising and promoting to the right audiences. So we all have our strengths, and we're all coming together to talk about it, which has been great.
How much, now this gets into, because I've thought of this when the state tourism board would come. Would they make the rounds and tell you, the every year they do that. I assume they're still doing it, although it's a little tougher times now. But you realize all of a sudden that Illinois is competing with Wisconsin, is Indiana, Michigan, whatever, a variety of states, because that tourism dollar. Now, of course, this was in normal times where people traveled. Maybe that circle's been cut back, but how much competition does Peoria face from other cities as you go about marketing Peoria? I mean, should we be worried about the Quad Cities, or what's your feeling there? I mean, Springfield has got the Lincoln stuff, and I'm just guessing, shouldn't we all be together a little bit as far as a group?
We're very cohesive in the sense of tourism bureaus. And because we have the Illinois Council of Convention Visitors Bureau, and just like I mentioned, it's brought us even closer together than it has at any time before. And as much as we can be competitors at time, my counterpart in Champaign,
right?
You don't have to go down that road, but we were competing. But here, I just called her the other day to help her save some, try and find ways to help her save her budget in one aspect. And so we're there to help each other. We meet regularly. And to your point, though, the Quad Cities, we each, again, kind of have our strengths. We're a strong meetings market, being centrally located in the facilities to host it. Galena always mentioned when we talk about leisure.
Yep.
Okay.
Galena's got a lot of assets.
Yeah, a lot of assets up there. Schaumburg presents a different situation. Southern Illinois, another. So we're knowing that we kind of own our own strengths. We come together and try and support each other throughout these times because we need the funding, the resources to do our jobs well. We create economic opportunity, which leads to economic development opportunities down the road. So
yeah, and I'm thinking, going back to your couple from Chicago that find somewhere to live in the Peoria area. Maybe it's Metamora or Germantown Hills, or maybe it's downtown Peoria, whatever it is. But they will discover, I assume, if they're not familiar with this area, that hey, Galesburg has some things, Bloomington has some things. I mean, in other words, the area as a whole, you can live in Peoria, but you can still take part of what's in central Illinois.
Absolutely, and that's something else that we're seeing trending. It's a lot of drive markets towards recovery as well. So I think a lot of people wouldn't say, hey, why don't we head up over to Champaign and spend the day there? In normal times, we would
say, well, what do you want to do that for?
Why would we do that? We can go to Indianapolis maybe or something like that. Here, we're supporting local in the sense of a state, and we kind of just went the day trip to Champaign. That's a little bit of a staycation. So yes, if you're here, you have these opportunities. And again, large market's just 2.5 hours away.
I saw, and this is a little off topic, but it's stretching it. But I don't know. My granddaughter, she's 8 years old, was looking on the computer with me at the same time. We saw this giant rocking chair that's down in Casey, Illinois.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know where Casey, Illinois was. I knew it was in southern Illinois. But anyways, you go online and you can find out these things. They have all these giant objects down there, kind of like the old Route 66 giants and things, the sort of totems that they had along the road. Well, some guy took it upon himself to build all those, or he got people together to do it. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know how successful it's been, but that kind of thing is out there.
That's great. What that is, it's an experience, right? Probably didn't cost any money to sit on a large wooden chair or to see these objects, but you can stop by. But in today's day and age, with so many people expressing their lives on social media, numerous outlets, we know that one single positive note on social media can spur hundreds, if not thousands, of visits.
Yeah.
So it's generating money elsewhere through just these experiences, and that's really at the heart of what we're trying to do as well.
Sure, they come down, they eat food, restaurant or gas, whatever it is, and that gets back to the sales tax. So, well, JD, we were running out of time here. Where should someone go who wants to find out more about what the Convention and Visitors Bureau is doing?
Yeah, you can go to discoverpeoria.com and be directed to our website, which we will have a brand new one come September 1st, which will be focused on visitors and residents. So you'll see an old website at that address, but soon to be a new brand new website.
And what's the new website going to bring us? More info, flashier colors, or what?
Info. It's going to be an asset not just for visitors looking to come here, but also our residents to know what's great and happening. So updated calendar of events, new portals for on the back end for our restaurants and hotels to be friendlier with them in a sense of information sharing, and just a greater way to tell stories and motivate our residents.
I got an idea for you. Don't know that you want it, but this is why I have this program. I can just throw it out there and it dies. But the idea of having people discover their own hometown, because I'm guessing that some people listening to this, watching this, are going to say, "I know Peoria. I've lived here X number of years. I know." So here's what I suggest: so you think you know Peoria? ... And it's a quiz, and you put it together, and it'll be stuff that maybe they'll find out when they only get 6 out of 10 that you don't know. So there are some things you don't know about your own hometown, because they're out there. I know. I worked on a newspaper for 20 years, and there's a ton of stuff I don't know, and they told me to go to these places.
Exactly.
It wasn't like I thought of them. So anyway, well, JD, we're out of time. Thanks again. It's always great. I mean, it goes so fast because there's so much on your plate, man. You're so skinny too. I don't know. We're just going to have to work on this. Well, anyway, JD Dalfonso is our guest, the CEO of Convention Visit Bureau. Take care. Keep working hard, and let's help everyone learn more about Peoria.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
We'll see you next time on Tartar Sauce.
PeoriaLife.com